I got married to my blind date less than 2 weeks after we met. For the first 3 months of marriage, we slept in separate rooms, until one night he knocked on my door. His voice was hoarse. Maybe it's time we acted like a real couple. Luke and I had just registered our marriage. On the drive home, the car suddenly stopped halfway. He unbuckled his seatbelt and said, "Hold on, I need to grab something." "What do you need? Are you feeling sick?" "No, just some essentials." With only me left in the car, my nerves finally relaxed. It all felt surreal. Was I really married now? Luke and I met through a family-arranged blind date. My aunt had been enthusiastic. He's good-looking, comes from a great family. Both his parents are high-ranking officials in the province. He's also a cop, works in the system. If I had turned her down, my other aunts would have shown up the next day with more setups. So I agreed. And when we met, he was just as my aunt described, handsome, nearly 6'1", with sharp, hawk-like eyes. But when he furrowed his brows, he looked a bit fierce and serious. I didn't dare look straight at him. The date didn't last long. Barely exchanged a few words. I thought that was the end of it. But 3 days later, my aunt called and said he wanted to see me again. I frowned, not really wanting to go. But then, I pictured Luke's intimidating face and didn't dare say no. I figured I'd meet him again and set things straight. He suggested we meet at a movie theater. When I arrived, he was already there. Khaki trench coat over a crisp white shirt, long legs in tailored black slacks, leather shoes. There was a touch of British style to him. Compared to the last time, he seemed less intimidating. While we were queuing for tickets, he leaned in, and the space between us closed. A faint scent of body wash lingered in the air. "Want popcorn and a Coke?" he asked. I shook my head, just wanting to get the movie over with. Luke watched the movie intently. He didn't say a word, didn't make any unnecessary moves, just quietly sat there. I let out a breath near the end of the film. When we came out, it was pouring thunder, lightning, rain slapping sideways in the wind. Luke's car was parked across the street, a good distance away. I hadn't expected rain, so there was no umbrella. Since I'd get soaked anyway, I threw my purse over my head and made a dash for it. Suddenly, someone grabbed my wrist tight, almost painfully so. Realizing what he'd done, Luke let go immediately. "Sorry," he said, taking off his coat. "Use this to cover your head. Let's share it," he added. The coat was big, he was tall, should be enough for the both of us. "Come a little closer." We were standing very close, arms brushing. When my arm accidentally touched his burning hot chest, I pulled back instantly. Half of Luke was already drenched. Wet strands of hair clung to his forehead in disarray. "Are you cold?" I shook my head. "You should wipe your hair, or you'll catch a cold." On the drive back, the rain slowly stopped. Unbuckling my seatbelt, I gave him a soft smile. "Thanks for today. You should take a hot shower and warm up." I got out of the car, but the door on his side opened too. "Something else?" I asked. "I'm free this weekend. Want to grab a bite together?" I was about to say no, but then saw those piercing eyes of his and swallowed my words. I nodded instead. We didn't have to wait for the weekend. We met again because of a violent parent incident. I'd been replying to messages on my phone when it happened. A furious-looking man came charging at me with a stick. "You're Miss Jennifer, right?" I nodded. Before I could react, he swung at my shoulder. "My kid ended up in the hospital because of you, has a concussion now." I let out a grunt and collapsed. My voice stuck in my throat. I was stunned. I always treated those little devils like treasures, never laid a hand, or raised my voice. Where did this accusation come from? The parent had clearly lost it. When he raised the stick again, Luke appeared and kicked him to the ground. He was in uniform, face grim. The man was taken to the station, and Luke brought me to the hospital. It was my right shoulder. The bruising was nasty and swollen. "Nothing serious," he said. "I'll apply some medicine. I'll write you a prescription. Apply the patch every day when you get home." His brows were tightly knit. The nurse, who'd been sneaking glances at Luke, was now too scared to breathe. Her hands trembled as she applied the ointment. "Easy there." Her hands were shaking so badly I had to look up. His expression wasn't much better, cold and fierce. I sighed. "Maybe you should wait outside." He gave me a flat look, nodded, and closed the door behind him. My school director called to check in. "This counts as a workplace injury, right? I can't even lift my arm to write. Just rest at home for a few days. Come back when you're healed." Honestly, I'd been feeling wronged and upset, but hearing that I could take time off work lifted my mood instantly. In the hallway, Luke stood straight with his arms crossed, lips pressed into a line. His presence was so strong, people glanced, but didn't dare approach. "Thanks for earlier," I said. "You showed up right on time." "Just happened to be nearby." That night, just as I was about to sleep, my phone lit up. It was Luke. "The investigation's done. The injured kid just started middle school. He's falling behind in class and comes from a rough home. The teacher targeted him, punished him during class for not turning in homework, then called him to the office after school and threatened him not to talk. When the parent got home from work, they found the kid passed out, took him to the hospital, concussion and other injuries. When asked who did it, the student randomly named a teacher with the last name Delaney. I read the message, feeling a mix of emotions. Some teachers really needed to reflect on their conduct. I glanced at the time and texted back. "Still not off work?" "I'm off. About to shower. Rest well. Good night." Good night. As I spent more time with Luke, I found he was polite, well-spoken, and carried himself like a gentleman. Aside from his intimidating aura, he seemed like the kind of man who'd make a good husband. So when he called 2 weeks later and asked if I wanted to get married, I didn't hesitate too long before saying yes. He tossed a big cardboard box into the back seat. It was labeled with the name of some health supplement. I didn't think much of it. There was also a bag of fresh fruit. He handed it to me. I opened it and found a bunch of glossy, plump lychees, still dripping with water. I peeled one and popped it into my mouth. Sweet juice burst instantly. The rich, floral flavor filled my mouth, and I suddenly felt at ease. My appetite opened up, and I ended up eating over a dozen. Eyes narrowing in delight, I marveled at how sweet they were. My impression of Luke improved once again. The apartment he got for us was spacious and well-designed. The decor was simple yet elegant, with high-quality furniture that spoke of good taste. Luke carried a box of stuff into the bedroom. The door was slightly ajar, and through the gap, I could see the bright red sheets on the bed, standing out starkly against the white walls. I'd been dazed all morning, but suddenly snapped awake tonight was technically our wedding night. My heart started pounding just thinking about it. I felt flushed and awkward, my face burning. Before this, I'd only dated fictional characters, never even held a real guy's hand. Luke stepped out of the room and looked at me, brows furrowed. "Are you not feeling well?" I shook my head and said weakly, "Just a little hot." I opened the fridge and asked, "What do you want for lunch?" He unbuttoned his shirt, rolled up his sleeves, revealing muscular arms. He looked a bit surprised. "You cook?" I'd been to Luke's house before. They had a housekeeper who made amazing sujo dishes. He nodded and smiled. When I was studying abroad, eating out was too expensive, so I got used to cooking for myself. While he was in the kitchen, I was in the bedroom unpacking clothes. Dresses hung neatly in the closet, and below them was a row of brand new lingerie sets, tags still attached. Seemed like he'd planned ahead. I bent down to grab some clothes from my suitcase and noticed the box he brought back from the pharmacy was open. The tape had been cut. I peeked inside and immediately blushed. It was filled with condoms in various flavors. There was even an unopened box on the nightstand, like he'd prepped it just for tonight. The weather was hot, and I'd started sweating with just a little movement. My hair felt sticky. I didn't want Luke to see me looking a mess, so I grabbed a change of clothes and rushed into the bathroom. I smelled myself fresh and clean. Just as I came out, Luke opened the kitchen door. The delicious aroma drifted through the living room. His eyes landed on me for a second, before quickly looking away. Took a shower? Yeah, it was hot. I was sweating. On the table were vinegar-drenched sea bass, braised pork ribs with yam, tofu veggie soup, and a small plate of pickled mustard greens. My mouth watered instantly. I gave him a big thumbs up. Luke, this is amazing, like Michelin level. So good, seriously. I'd planned to act reserved around him, but the food was just too good. I ended up eating a second bowl of rice. Luke got a call for a last-minute assignment and rushed off. I let out a breath. Being alone at home felt easier. I napped until late afternoon. When I checked my phone, there was a message from him. Sorry, I won't be home for dinner. I slipped on slippers and went downstairs to the convenience store, grabbed some snacks, watched a movie, and read a bit. When I looked up, it was nearly 10. I frowned and sent him a message, no reply. Probably too busy. I spent my wedding night alone. Later, Luke called to say he wouldn't be home for the whole week. There'd been a breakthrough in the case, and he had to drive overnight to a nearby city. I said I understood. Before we got married, my parents had warned me that Luke's job was unusual and I'd need to be understanding. I'd been eating and sleeping alone these past few days, messing around on my phone, almost forgetting I was even married. After work one afternoon, I carried a bag of oranges back to the building. Ran into a neighbor I'd met a few days ago, a university professor. Graceful and warm. Totally the type I used to like. Back from work, Miss Jennifer? I nodded. Which school do you teach at? He asked. I smiled and told him the name. What a coincidence. My nephew goes there. It's a great school. We chatted casually as we entered the building. Just as I was about to close the door, I realized I'd forgotten to buy cold medicine. I'd left the window open the night before and kicked off the blanket. Woke up with a stuffy nose. Juan mentioned he had some medicine and kindly brought over 2 boxes. I felt a bit embarrassed and gave him a few oranges in return. After showering, I went to the living room to get water for the pills. Suddenly, the doorknob turned. My heart jumped. Living alone, I was instantly on edge. But when the door opened, it was Luke. He stood at the entryway, changing his shoes, clothes wrinkled, shoes muddy, looking utterly exhausted. My heart settled. Have you eaten? I asked. His voice was hoarse. Grab something outside. Luke's eyes lingered on me. I looked down. I'd just been lounging around the house, wearing whatever. At the time, I had on a creamy white silk camisole dress, loose and draped around my waist, and most importantly, with nothing underneath. I took a deep breath and calmly walked back into the bedroom, changed into long sleeves and pants. Not as comfy, but safer. When I came out, he was drinking water. Our eyes met. His gaze carried something unreadable. Flustered, I looked down and sat on the couch, hugging a pillow. I'm gonna take a shower, he said, with a hint of a smile in his voice. While I was lost in thought, his voice came again from overhead. I absent-mindedly replied, Then came the sound of running water from the bathroom. 8 minutes later, the bathroom door opened. Luke came out in a loose white tee and black shorts. His frame was tall and lean. His exposed arms and legs were slim and well-defined. He walked to the fridge, grabbed a bottle of water, and downed it in one go. His Adam's apple moved as he swallowed. Not going to bed? His hair was still wet, sticking to his forehead. His dark eyes shimmered with moisture as he stared at me. I shifted uncomfortably under his gaze, my face heating up. It's still early. I want to watch a bit more TV. Luke glanced at me, then calmly walked to the entryway and flipped a switch. The lights went out. The living room dimmed, lit only by the flickering TV. He sat beside me. Our legs touched. The air was thick with the scent of a grown man's hormones. My whole body tensed. My palms were sweating. I quietly shifted away. Suddenly, he turned and pulled me into his arms. one strong arm wrapped tightly around my shoulders. I stiffened and whispered, "Maybe you should get some rest in the bedroom." When he first got home, there were dark circles under his eyes and stubble on his chin. He looked worn out. Luke slowly shook his head. "Let me stay and watch with you for a bit." The room went quiet again. We were watching a disaster movie. It was hard to focus at first, but gradually I got into it. By the time the movie ended, I heard steady breathing beside me. I gave him a gentle nudge and whispered, "Luke." Before I could finish, his eyes flew open, and he grabbed my arm instinctively. In the dark, his gaze was sharp, brows tightly knit. He looked dangerously fierce. "Ow!" Luke froze and immediately let go. I stared at him wide-eyed and scooted away a bit. Realizing I might have overreacted, Luke apologized right away. "Sorry, instinct." In his line of work, even the slightest movement around him would put him on high alert. I understood, but it still left me shaken. If he'd used just a bit more force, I wouldn't even be able to hold chalk tomorrow. Still recovering from the shock, I patted my chest and forced out, "It's fine, just be careful next time." He looked a bit lost, and I couldn't help but feel a little bad. I added softly, "Really, don't overthink it. I'm okay. Go get some sleep." I yawned as I spoke and walked into the bedroom. Glancing back, I saw he didn't follow. I lay down and pulled the blanket over me. A moment later, the door opened, and my body tensed up. Luke walked in with a cup of milk and said gently, "Mum said you can't fall asleep without a glass of warm milk." I murmured a thank you as I took it. Under his watchful gaze, I drank it all in silence. "I'll turn off the light." He reached over and turned off the light, then lay down. I inched toward the edge of the bed, practically hanging off. Moonlight filtered through the thin curtains, casting a faint glow across the room. The only sound was our steady breathing. Luke shifted, and I held my breath. "Does your arm still hurt?" I shook my head stiffly. "No, it's fine now." After a while, Luke spoke again, voice low and rough. "Jennifer, yeah? Scoot over a little. I'm about to fall off." "Oh." I slowly moved closer. The silky fabric of my nightgown brushed against his hot skin, and my back stiffened. Sweat started to gather behind my knees. The tension in the air kept building. I kept still, not daring to move my waist or legs. Just as I tried to turn over to put some distance between us, Luke suddenly reached over and pulled me into his arms. Our bodies pressed tightly together. My face instantly burned. He was in a short-sleeved shirt, and his body heat radiated through it. Sweat began forming on my forehead. It wasn't comfortable sleeping like this. I turned slightly to face him. Our eyes met. His gaze was calm, but somehow it felt scorching. If I didn't say something now, something irreversible might really happen. I gently pushed against his chest and asked cautiously, Luke, would it be okay if we slept in separate rooms? I toss and turn a lot and get up at night. It might disturb your sleep." Silence. Then, after a long pause, he replied softly, "All right, I'll sleep in the guest room." I was stunned. "That easy? Luke? Are you mad?" He gave a quiet laugh and shook his head. I sighed in relief. "That's good." His voice softened. "Jennifer, I know we rushed into this marriage. You need time to adjust. I respect that. Just don't make me wait too long." He got up, grabbed a new set of bedding from the closet, and went to the guest room. That night, I dreamed Luke, and I rolled from one end of the bed to the other. It felt so real that I woke up with a burning face. I scratched my head. What kind of dream was that? Luke knocked on the door. "Jennifer, breakfast is ready." I usually had no appetite in summer and skipped breakfast altogether. But the sight of sesame noodles, scallion pancakes, and mung bean porridge instantly made me hungry. "Luke, what time did you get up to make all this?" 6. That was when I was still deep asleep, my cheeks flushed with embarrassment. I picked up a spoon, about to add sugar to the porridge. but he handed me a glass of water first. Drink some warm water before you eat. It's better for your body. I looked up at him and noticed for the first time that his hair was still wet, his cheeks slightly flushed. He wore athletic shorts and a tee soaked in sweat. The outline of his toned muscles showed through the fabric, strong but not bulky, perfectly proportioned. "Did you just come back from a run?" He nodded. "Yeah. Go ahead and eat. I'm gonna shower first. I smell like sweat." The difference between us was staggering. Compared to him, I was way too lazy. I decided I'd cook dinner tonight. No way I'd let him keep doing everything. After work, I went to the supermarket and bought some groceries. I even texted his mum to ask what he liked to eat. Passing the frozen section, I spotted a half-off ice cream sale and loaded 6 tubs into the cart. By the time I got home, it was already dark. I was alone in the apartment. Dinner was ready, but Luke still wasn't back. I glanced at the clock. He should have been home by now. Just as I was about to call, my phone rang. "Jennifer, I have to work late tonight. Might be back pretty late." "Okay, have you eaten?" "Not yet. I'll grab something at the cafeteria later." "Don't overwork yourself." "No need to wait up for me. Make sure to lock the door." "Captain Luke," someone called on his end. We barely said a few words before he hung up. I looked at the steaming dishes on the table, boiled beef with chili, lotus root pork rib soup. I packed the food into an insulated container and took a cab to his precinct. The guard asked who I was. I told him I was Luke's wife. Saying the word wife felt strange and a little embarrassing. The guard's eyes lit up when he heard it. He enthusiastically led me inside. When I found Luke, he was staring at a file, cigarette between his lips, brows tightly furrowed. I squinted. This was the first time I'd seen him smoke. I'd never smelled cigarettes on him before, so I'd assumed he didn't smoke. Luke looked surprised to see me. Realizing it was me, he quickly took a drag and stubbed out the cigarette in the ashtray. Then he jogged over, draped his jacket over my shoulders, and gave me a deep look filled with amusement. Someone nearby called out, "Hey, Captain Luke, who's this?" The guard grinned. "This is Captain Luke's wife." "Captain Luke's married? When are we getting that wedding banquet?" "Look, she brought him dinner." It was my first time visiting the precinct. I was a little nervous. A group of young, energetic officers in training waved at me. Each one greeted me with a cheerful sister-in-law. It was rowdy and loud. My face burned. Luke smiled calmly. "Thanks, Uncle Lee. We just got the license recently, haven't had the wedding yet. When we do, you're all invited." The guard smiled and walked off, saying we should enjoy some time together. Luke's eyes twinkled. "There's watermelon inside. Picked it this afternoon while I was out in the countryside. Super sweet." I lifted the insulated container. "I made a couple of dishes. Thought I'd bring them to you." Inside, Luke closed the door and pulled a watermelon out of the bucket. He wiped off the moisture with a cloth and, in a few quick chops, split it in half. He stuck a spoon in one half and stared straight at me with those dark eyes, refusing to look away. Feeling a little embarrassed under his gaze, I tried to change the subject. "This watermelon's too big. I can't finish it all. Just leave it. I'll eat the rest later." My face warmed. Growing up, only my dad ever ate my leftovers. Now there was a second man. It felt strangely intimate. "Hurry and eat. The food won't taste good if it sits too long." "Did you eat already?" I shook my head. I'd rushed out right after cooking, too eager to bring it over. "I'll eat when I get back." Knowing he had a big appetite from all the training, I packed more than usual. He pulled out a pair of disposable chopsticks and handed them to me. "Let's eat together." Luke placed a slice of beef into my bowl. "Eat more. Your waist's too thin." His blunt comment caught me so off guard I choked. Luke's mom had said he likes spicy food, so I'd added extra chili and peppercorn. Now I was coughing like crazy, my face red and forehead sweating. Luke jumped up and started patting my back. "Drink some water." I gulped it down, finally catching my breath. When I looked up, His brows were tightly furrowed. His serious face made him look even scarier than usual. "If you can't handle spice, don't use so much chili." I pouted. "I only did it because you like spicy food. And it's because of what you said that you choked." He didn't say another word, just walked out. Was that a fight? I watched his figure disappear into the night through the window, a strange emptiness settling in my chest. 8 minutes later, Luke came back, holding a bag of assorted candies. Acting like nothing happened, he peeled open a lemon-flavored one. Open up. The sweet and sour candy melted in my mouth, and the burn didn't feel so bad anymore. Luke asked gently, "Better now?" I nodded. "Don't eat that dinner anymore. I'll make you something later tonight." I felt a bit guilty for blaming him. "No need. There's no chili in the lotus root soup. I can just eat it with rice." "All right, I'll take the spicy beef. You finish the soup. Wait for me a bit. We'll head home together after I'm done." Luke ate quickly, finished in 5 minutes, then sat down at his computer, fully focused. I didn't like people around when I was working either, so while he was reviewing case files, I got up and wandered outside. I ran into one of his colleagues, tall, handsome, and very friendly. "Sister-in-law, let's add each other on WeChat. I'll pull you into our spouses group." Sister-in-law. Captain Luke never had a girlfriend before. The chief even tried setting him up, but the girl said he was too scary and too busy. Xu Zhenggran was funny, just a few sentences had me laughing. "Jennifer, time to go." Luke stood behind me, tall and upright, holding a briefcase and the insulated food container. "Bye, sister-in-law." I smiled and waved at Xu Zhenggran. As Luke drove, I asked, "Is Xu Zhenggran on your team?" "Yeah, he's pretty good looking. Got a girlfriend?" At a red light, the car stopped. Luke turned slightly toward me, eyes narrowing dangerously. "Why are you asking?" "What are you thinking?" "Xu Zhenggran's tall, good-looking, seems like he works out, and he's funny. I was thinking of introducing him to Qingqing. He's single." When we got out of the car, Luke walked around to open the door for me and held my hand all the way home. The dishes were still out, and the pot hadn't been washed. "You go rest. I'll clean up the kitchen. You worked all day, and even had overtime tonight. Didn't you also work all day and come home to cook?" Luke cleaned up quickly and efficiently. Everything was orderly. I'd been to his house a few times, there was always a housekeeper, so I assumed he never did chores. Thought he was a spoiled rich kid. But reality proved otherwise. He cooked and cleaned better than me. Nothing good was on TV, so I grabbed my pajamas and went for a shower. While getting dressed, I lost my balance and took a hard fall. Hiss. I sucked in a breath. Lifting my pant leg, I saw a swollen red bruise. It looked bad but wasn't bleeding. I was used to little bumps and scrapes, so I didn't think much of it. Limping out the door, I ran into Luke. He was shirtless, holding his change of clothes. "I'm done. You can shower now." His gaze locked onto me. "Did you fall?" "How did you know?" "I heard something." Luke glanced down. "Let me see your leg." I shook my head. "It's fine." "No need." He said nothing, just stood there like he wouldn't let me pass until I showed him. I lifted my left leg and rolled up the pant leg, accidentally touched the bruise and gasped. Luke squatted down and examined it, frowning. "Hurts?" "It's fine. I'll tough it out. Sit on the couch. I'll treat it." "Can you walk? Want me to carry you?" It was just a few steps. He was being way too nervous. "I can walk." He brought over the first aid kit and pulled out cotton swabs and iodine. While he worked, I got bored and started studying his hands. His hands were beautiful, long fingers, neatly trimmed nails. Before we got married, his mum told me he was great at playing piano. This might sting a little. Hang in there. Before I could brace myself, he poured iodine on the wound. The pain was searing. I instinctively jerked my leg, but he grabbed my calf. His expression turned stern. "Jennifer, don't move. You'll make it worse." His palm had a thin layer of calluses. The touch made me squirm, and I froze, barely breathing. His forearms were thick, almost the size of my calves. He looked strong. I blurted out what I was thinking. "Luke, your arms are so thick." He looked up, eyes dark and focused. "From training." Once he confirmed there were no other injuries, Luke finally relaxed. There were faint finger marks on my pale calf, probably from his grip. He went to the kitchen, poured a glass of milk, and took his pajamas into the bathroom. My mom called, asking how married life was. I brushed her off with a few pleasant words. "Jennifer, when will you and Luke come home for a meal? It's almost Dragon Boat Festival." I made a bunch of zongzi. I know you love the salted egg yolk ones I made extra. "I'll check with Luke and see when he's free." I stood up and walked to the bathroom door. "Hey, when do you have time? My mom wants us to go back for a meal." No response. Maybe the water was too loud. I called again. "Luke, when do you have time? My mom's inviting us for dinner." A man's muffled voice came through the door. "Sunday." I didn't think much of it and told my mom we'd be home Friday. The bathroom door opened, and he stepped out, wearing only a pair of shorts, revealing a lean waist and well-defined abs. His hair was dripping wet, and a drop of water slid from his ear down along his sharp jawline. I sneaked a glance at him, but quickly looked away and pretended to focus on the TV when he looked back. I couldn't help but think, what a body. Over the weekend, without morning classes, I stayed in bed a little longer. Luke knocked on the door. "Jennifer, my tie's in the wardrobe. Can I come in?" I rolled over and called out, "Come in." The door opened gently. I opened my eyes groggily and was instantly stunned awake by how good Luke looked. Normally he dressed casually, but today he wore a full suit. His shirt was neatly tucked into his belt, his hair combed back. Deep-set features, tall and upright like a husband straight out of a novel. I stared for a moment, and when our eyes met, I could clearly feel my heartbeat. Was he seriously this handsome? And this man was my husband? It felt unreal. Noticing my dazed expression, Luke raised an eyebrow and smiled. "You spaced out? Wanna sleep a little more?" I shook my head and rolled around on the bed. "Luke, can you dress like this every day? You look way too good." "Nope, only like this when I'm with you." I picked out a moonlight-colored dress from the wardrobe that complemented my skin tone and took a necklace from the jewelry box. Luke had bought it for me, though I hadn't worn it yet. I wasn't much into jewelry, but it looked delicate and beautiful. A quick online search said it cost around 50 to 60,000 yuan. Luke pushed the door open, now holding a watch. His gaze slowly swept over me, Adam's apple bobbing slightly. His voice was low and hoarse. "Can I kiss you?" The mirror in front of me reflected my blushing cheeks. My voice trembled. "Okay." Luke stepped forward and gently cupped my face, placing a cool kiss on my forehead. I froze. Why the forehead? But I was too shy to say anything. He lightly pinched my earlobe and said softly, "Put this watch on." I recognized the brand, Vacheron Constantine. "When did you get this?" "A few days ago. Saw it while shopping and bought it for you as a wedding gift." That day, we'd planned to see a movie together after work. He arrived before me, must have bought it then. With all the jewelry I'd received, the total probably exceeded 2 years of my salary. I started thinking, what should I get Luke as a gift in return? "I haven't even gotten you a wedding gift. Not making me wait too long is the best gift." Give me your hand. I'll help you put it on." It wasn't until the strap clicked into place that I realized what he meant. My whole face went red. He looked all serious and cold, but when he flirted, he was bolder than anyone. When we got out of the car and opened the trunk, I was shocked to see it packed full over a dozen items. Cigarettes, alcohol, tea, fruit, supplements. The last time I was this surprised was when Luke came with his whole family for the engagement, nearly a carload of stuff. There was so much, my mum had to send some to my uncle and grandma in the countryside. I chuckled helplessly. "We haven't even finished the last batch. Why'd you buy so much again?" "There's barely room at home. Luke ruffled my hair and explained, "It's tradition. These are all necessary gifts." My mom looked more and more satisfied with Luke as her son-in-law. The moment we got home, she told him to sit and relax. Didn't let him lift a finger. She even added chili to several dishes to suit his taste. After the meal, Luke insisted on washing the dishes. My dad stayed on the couch like a rock. My mom kicked him and scolded, "Why are you just sitting there? Go help." "Mom, I'll do the dishes. You two go rest." Luke carried the plates into the kitchen and quickly got to work. Afterward, he brought out a plate of sliced fruit. My mom nodded approvingly. Luke really knows how to take care of people. He might look serious and quiet, but he knew how to talk to elders. After just a few sentences, my mom was laughing out loud. While the two of them chatted, I sat on the side, Googling, "What gifts to get for men?" Their conversation drifted to wedding plans, and when to have kids, I blushed and felt a little awkward. I stood up and yawned. "I'm going to bed." I fell asleep quickly in my soft, familiar childhood bed. Half asleep, I felt something firm beside me. It felt nice to the touch. A low, hoarse voice came from above. "Jennifer, stop moving." I blinked and found myself face to face with a very handsome profile. His hair was a bit messy, his shirt ruffled, my hand was on his abs, and when I looked down, I wasn't in much better shape. It was hot, and I'd kicked off the thin blanket. My dress had somehow ridden up to my stomach, exposing my shorts. I felt like I wanted to die. Taking advantage of the fact that Luke was still asleep, I carefully tugged my dress back down. But once I finished, I started to panic. When did he come in? Did he see anything? I looked up and saw that his eyes were already open, gazing at me with a mysterious expression. So he'd seen my little moves just now? "Luke, did you see everything just now?" He didn't answer. Instead, he looked down, then reached out to tuck a strand of hair behind my ear. His touch was gentle, and the atmosphere subtly shifted. "Jennifer, do you know how to kiss?" I stared at him blankly and shook my head. "I'll teach you." He chuckled softly, locked eyes with me, and pressed his cool lips against mine. I couldn't help but tremble. "Mrs. Jennifer, remember to breathe." Once we got the hang of it, Luke cupped my shoulders and deepened the kiss. When it ended, my heart was pounding, and I collapsed softly into his arms. That night, we didn't go back. After dinner, my mom asked me to show Luke around. There was an artificial lake nearby, so we decided to go for a walk. On the way, we ran into a familiar neighbor. "Jennifer, is this your boyfriend?" "Yeah, he's my husband." The neighbor looked surprised. "Wow, your husband's really good looking." After a bit of small talk, we kept walking. On the way back, I was so tired I could barely move, while Luke was still going strong. "You're not getting enough exercise. Want to start running with me in the mornings?" I waved my hands frantically. No thanks." I was all sweaty and sticky, squatted down to find some pajamas in the drawer. After rummaging forever, everything was a mess, and I still hadn't found them. "Mom, where's my pajama set? Did you move it?" "I didn't touch it. It's in the drawer, look carefully." I searched again, but still couldn't find it. I was starting to get annoyed. "Tell me what it looks like. I'll help you look." "It's pink, with a cartoon strawberry on the chest. I used to love that pajama set. It looked really cute on me." "Did you find it?" Luke shook his head. "Forget it. The more you want to find something, the harder it is." Most of my summer clothes had been moved to Luke's place. All that was left here were my old school uniforms and some short sleeves, plus winter clothes. Between the uniform and the t-shirt, I chose the t-shirt. It was a bit big, barely covering down to my thighs. The room had its own private bathroom. Luke sat on the bed reading my manga while I took my clothes into the bathroom. When I came out, he was flipping through another book. "You finished the manga?" His eyes darkened slightly. "Yeah. Is there a next volume?" I nodded. "There is. But it was hidden pretty deep. I'd stuffed all those magazines into a box long ago, afraid my parents would find them. I tucked it under the bed. The box was way in the back, so I crouched down and reached for it. I felt a chill on my back and tugged at the hem of my shirt. You try reaching, ouch. As I stood up, I hit my head on the bed frame. Does it hurt? Ugh, is Mercury in retrograde or something? I keep getting hurt. Let me take a look. He turned me toward him, and my gaze landed right on his neck. His shirt was slightly open, Adam's apple pronounced, veins faintly visible. For a moment, I forgot all about the pain. It's not serious. Just need to sit and rest a bit. Luke pressed me down onto the bed, eyes dimming. Not gonna grab the book? It's right there in the box. He looked like he was deep in thought. Forget it. I've got something more important to do. Before I could react, his lips were already on mine. I had recently bought a new scale since the old one broke. When I stepped on it, 8 pounds gained. Last year's dress now felt tight. I was devastated. My mental alarm blared. Luke, don't make dinner for me tonight. Starting today, I'm going on a diet. Luke ran his hand along my waist, then declared, You did gain a bit. Feels better though. I was speechless. I made a crash diet plan and decided to skip dinner every night. Luke ruthlessly pointed out the flaws. You'll rebound, gain it all back even faster. I turned my head and wanted to cry. Then what should I do? He suggested. Let's go hiking this weekend. You need more exercise. You get winded just climbing 2 flights of stairs. Aren't you usually super busy? You have time this weekend? Yeah, just wrapped up a case. Luke really was busy. Sometimes he'd leave in the middle of the night and be gone for days. The night before the trip, I was so excited I couldn't sleep. It would be our first real outing together. I heard things at scenic spots were expensive, so I packed a bag full of snacks and water. Halfway up the mountain, I wanted to chuck my backpack. I was dying. I mumbled weakly, Luke, is it too late to go back down? Jennifer, just hang in there a little longer. We're almost there. I pouted. That's what you said last time. Luke was in great shape from years of working out. I was dripping sweat. He looked completely fine. Come on, I'll carry you. Forget it. I'll walk. There were tons of people around elderly in their 60s, little kids as young as 5. Being carried in front of them would look ridiculous. When we finally reached the top, my throat felt like it was on fire. Luke searched for a clear spot to pitch the tent. I opened my bag and started digging for water, only to find a small box. I didn't remember packing any snacks like this. Did Luke sneak it in? I opened it up and saw small, individually wrapped packets. My face instantly flushed, heart pounding. But tonight, someone was going to be disappointed. Teacher! I turned around. One of my students was there. Kyle, are you here camping with your parents? The little guy looked thrilled to see me. I came with my uncle. Kyle pointed to a tall man nearby, handsome and well-built. As he walked over, I realized it was our neighbor, Juan. I was a little surprised. You're Kyle's uncle? Juan nodded and ruffled Kyle's hair. Yeah, his parents are on a business trip. I brought him out for a little vacation. Teacher, Uncle made barbecue. Want some? I smiled and shook my head. Thanks, Momo. I brought food with me. You came by yourself? I shook my head. I came with my boyfriend. Juan followed my gaze and gave a helpless smile. Then I won't disturb you two. Luke had already set up the tent in just 10 minutes. Was that your friend? No, a student's guardian. He's also our neighbor. Luke, I want barbecue. Honestly, I was tempted earlier when Kyle invited me. I borrowed a grill from the guest house. The meat's already marinated, ready to go. Let me help. Go hang out in the tent. The smoke's bad. I'll handle it. Half an hour later, Luke brought over a plate of grilled skewers and called me out to eat. I only had a few bites before I felt full. The heat killed my appetite. I'm done. You go ahead. He casually took the half-eaten skewer from me and took a bite. Luke, I'm sleepy. Lie down and rest. It's too hot. I can't fall asleep. He pulled out a fan from the bag. Go ahead and sleep. I'll fan you. The breeze was cool and soothing. I fell asleep quickly. When I woke up, the sun had already set. It was dark all around. Luke pulled open the tent and looked at me. You're awake? I nodded. His short hair was wet and dripping, water trailing down his angular face and hitting his chest. He had changed into clean clothes. Where'd you go? His voice was hoarse. There's a lake nearby. I went for a swim. Luke stepped into the tent, and a wave of intense masculine energy washed over me, tangling in the air. Instinctively, I edged away. A pair of strong, warm hands wrapped around my waist and pulled me into his lap. His dark, narrow eyes locked onto mine, his tone perfectly serious as he asked, Jennifer, I want to kiss you. May I? My ears burned, and my face went hot. Why even ask? Just kiss me already. Blushing, I stammered. After the kiss, both of us were breathing heavily, hearts pounding. I could hear the sound of his rough breaths and his throat swallowing. His voice was hoarse. Is it okay? I'm on my period. There was a guest house nearby where Luke had booked a room in advance. As soon as the door opened, he headed straight to the bathroom. When he came out from his shower, he stood on the balcony smoking, hidden in the dark, with only the glowing tip of his cigarette visible. I sat down to apply my skincare. When I looked back, Luke was behind me, twirling my hair with his fingers. Let me blow dry your hair. The dryer's in the drawer. As he dried it, his hands started to wander. His short hair brushed against my jaw, and cheek it was prickly. Suddenly, the sharp ring of the phone echoed from the living room. Luke frowned, took a deep breath, and went out to answer. When he returned, his expression was serious. His dark eyes looked at me with a mix of emotions. There's a case. I have to go now. I froze for a second, reluctant. We rarely got to go out together. Okay, go ahead. Drive safe. I stood up to walk him to the door, but he didn't move, just stared at me silently, with a hint of longing in his gaze. Why aren't you leaving? Didn't they say it was urgent? From what I heard during his call, it sounded urgent. Just one more kiss. After that kiss, my head felt dizzy, and I could barely stand. The phone rang again. While answering it, he used his other hand to wrap around my waist and pull me into his arms. It was one of his teammates calling to rush him. Luke sounded a bit irritated, his voice turning cold, like someone had interrupted him during a feast. Go. They're rushing you already. He buried his face into my neck and took a deep breath. I'll make up for it next time. His tone hinted at a future reckoning. When I looked in the mirror, my lips were clearly swollen and my cheeks were flushed. My pajamas were a bit messy from our hug. After Luke left, the house felt cold and empty. I never used to mind being alone until now. That night, I had a nightmare Luke got hurt during a case. It felt so real. I immediately video called him to make sure he was okay, then realized it was only 5 a.m. and he was probably asleep. I hung up right away. A second later, he called back. His eyes were sunken, and his chin had grown some stubble. His voice was raspy. What's wrong? Once I saw he was fine, my heart finally settled. But seeing how exhausted he looked, I felt a pang of guilt. Nothing. I just wanted to see you. When did you get to sleep? Did I wake you? Just got into bed. Then go back to sleep. I'll hang up now. Jennifer, did you have a nightmare? He could always read me. He lowered his eyes, voice full of guilt. I'm sorry. It's okay. You go rest. I won't bother you. Don't hang up. I sleep better when you're next to me. I went to the bathroom, and when I came back, I heard his steady breathing from the video. I listened for a while, and eventually fell asleep too. When I woke up, the video call had ended. Luke had sent me a few recent photos and some videos. Look at these when you miss me. I opened them. One was a shirtless picture. Luke had kept his body in great shape. Tall, muscular, and toned. My face burned. I picked the most handsome one as my phone wallpaper. This case was taking longer than usual. He'd been gone half a month already. He was so busy. Every call was squeezed in during short breaks. Thursday after work, it started pouring. Though it was daytime, the sky was grey and damp. I'd checked the forecast before leaving, so I brought an umbrella. But looking at the rain now, even the umbrella was useless. I frowned and tried to call a ride. A driver accepted, then cancelled, saying traffic was too heavy. Miss Jennifer, want to ride with my uncle? My uncle drove over today. Kyle had a lollipop in his mouth, one hand held by someone else. Juan said, "Hop in. We're headed that way anyway." "Thank you. Sorry for the trouble." In the car, Juan passed up a bag of KFC from the front. Kyle's eyes lit up. "Thank you, Uncle Juan. Hope you find a girlfriend soon." Juan let out a helpless laugh. I was a bit surprised. "You're such a catch and still don't have a girlfriend." He kept his eyes on the road. "Just haven't met the right one." Kyle grabbed a custard tart and handed it to me. "Here, teacher, it's still warm." Kyle was so enthusiastic, it made me a little embarrassed. I couldn't say no to his kindness, especially since Juan had helped me out so many times. When I got home, I turned on the TV and started baking a cake while watching. Kyle had mentioned it was his birthday today, so I made a chocolate cake to bring over as a thank you. Both he and Juan were warm and welcoming and invited me to stay for dinner. "Teacher, Uncle also ordered pizza. Come help us finish it." "Yeah, it'll go to waste if we don't." Mid-meal, my phone rang. It was Luke. "Hello? Babe, where are you?" "Next door." He paused. "You're back?" "Yeah." I stood up and apologized to Juan. "My husband's back. I should head home." He nodded. "All right, thanks for the cake." "Teacher, your cake was so good." I ruffled Kyle's hair with a smile. When I opened the door, the living room was empty. I heard water running from the bathroom. He was probably showering. Since Luke wasn't home lately, we hadn't bought much groceries. All that was left were some eggs. I made noodles and fried 3 eggs, then added a small plate of chili. When I came out, he was standing in the living room, wearing a black t-shirt and lounge pants. His muscular shoulders and back subtly showed through the fabric, making him look tall, lean, and strong. His dark eyes stared at me, making my face feel hot. I looked down. "Come eat." He sat down and ate the noodles in big bites. I wasn't sure if it was my imagination, but Luke seemed a little upset. I had a guess why. It rained today, and Juan picked up his nephew. Since it was on the way, he dropped me off too. He's helped me a lot, so I made a cake and brought it over. It's his nephew's birthday, just returning a favor. I told him everything from start to finish. He looked up and set his chopsticks down, not upset like I'd feared, but with a sincere look of apology. "I'm sorry, Jennifer. Because of my job, I can't always be there for you. Like today, in the rain, I wasn't able to pick you up." I nodded. "I understand." Not wanting to dwell on the topic, I changed the subject. "The balcony light's out. It hasn't been fixed. I'll go downstairs later to buy a new bulb and replace it. Go take a shower first, don't catch a cold. I'll wash the dishes." After the bath, I felt much more comfortable. I reached out for my pajamas but came up empty. I'd forgotten to bring them in. Luke, I forgot my pajamas. Can you grab them for me?" I called a few times with no answer. He must have gone out to get the light bulb. Since I was home alone, I wrapped myself in a towel and walked out. Just as I reached the living room, the door opened. Our eyes met, both of us froze. I dashed to the bedroom and locked the door. After changing into pajamas, I lay on the bed scrolling through my phone. The awkward moment from earlier was quickly forgotten. Then there was a knock at the door. "Jennifer, I brought you some milk." "Oh, just come in." "You locked the door." I jumped out of bed to open it. After gulping down the milk, I said the usual good night. and was about to close the door. The door was pushed back. I paused. Something wrong? His Adam's apple bobbed. His voice was hoarse. We're not done yet. He stepped forward, his hot palm resting on my waist, dark eyes fixed on me. Don't you think it's time we shared a real room? My body trembled instinctively. Luke seized the moment and lifted me onto the bed. This kiss was more intense than any before. 3 hours later, his hair was damp, and a faint flush colored his handsome face. Are you uncomfortable? Our eyes met. There was a mix of embarrassment and shyness. I shut my eyes and buried my head under the blanket. The sheets were already damp with sweat. Luke pulled the blanket back. You're sweating. Are your legs sore? Want me to carry you to shower? I glared at him and limped into the bathroom, holding my waist. It wasn't as painful as I'd imagined, just a little awkward during the process, even though Luke had been very gentle. When I came out, the sheets had been changed, and the window was open to air out the room. Exhausted, I collapsed onto the bed and fell asleep immediately. The next morning, I woke up drenched in sweat. My pajamas were damp and sticky. Above me came a sleepy, raspy male voice. My mind went blank. I held my breath. Aren't you going for a run? I'm doing something different today. An hour later, the car stopped at the school gate. Just as I was getting out, he said, Don't forget your breakfast. I turned back. He looked refreshed, humming a tune, clearly in a great mood. I'll pick you up this afternoon. By the 8th month of marriage, my period still hadn't come. I bought some test strips from the pharmacy. 10 tests, all 2 lines. The only time we didn't use protection was after our wedding last month, when we were too tired to even shower. But Luke was uncharacteristically excited, hugging and kissing me non-stop. I pushed him away. I'm too tired. I don't want to move. You don't have to move. No way, it was just that one time. That evening, Luke came home and called out from the bedroom, Baby, I bought egg tarts! I buried my head in the pillow. I didn't feel like talking to him. He pushed open the door, confused. What's wrong? My voice was low and sulky. Luke, I think I'm pregnant. He froze, then suddenly burst into a smile. The test results came back. I really was pregnant. That night, I lay in bed, feeling amazed. There was a little bean sprout growing inside me. After that, Luke came home earlier than ever. He cooked most of our meals, though sometimes he still had to go handle cases. Mr. Dawson, worried, arranged for a nanny to come help take care of me. During the spring festival, the baby was born safely. We named him Carlos Dawson. Luke had officially become a proud new dad.